almost time to wrap up the year and plan for 2024. This is a great time to evaluate automation trends in Canadian manufacturing to understand where the industry stands and basically to take steps for the future, plan for the future. And today we are specifically going to be discussing robotics trends. And it's my pleasure to welcome you, Jim. Jim Beretta is the president of customer attraction, and he's also a consultant to the robotics and automation industry here in Canada.
Hey, thank you, Sukanya. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And we are just back from the ADM show. We could see some of the latest technologies there that were displayed. And it's a great reminder of the opportunities available in this market and what manufacturers can do with it, and also to understand where Canadian manufacturers stand in this respect. What do you think?
Well, it's funny because I did take a look at the kind of the perspective of where we sit in Canada and in global of the world.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that maybe a little bit into this interview. But I just wanted to give the audience a little bit of kind of perspective. The industry is really busy. That is, the robot automation industry is busy. Projects are getting more complex. Customers today, they want flexibility. Labor has left the building and it doesn't look like it's coming back. So they're doing everything that they can. That is, Canadian manufacturers are doing everything they can to get robots in quickly. And also, one of the things they're looking for is more of a platform so that they can construct a bunch of different models on one system. So they want flexibility. They want flexibility. Their end of arm tools, and hopefully what's happening, they're buying because a lot of the machine builders that I know are very busy.
Right. Specifically, just to get to the first basic question, what robotics trends have you been seeing in Canadian manufacturing? And need not be just in 2023, but over the past, let's say, 2-3 years, when things have changed so rapidly in the market everywhere around us. So what trends have you seen?
Well, a big trend I've seen is the interest in automated welding. One of the funny things that's happened in the world is we're losing a lot of welders in manufacturing, and so a lot of the manufacturers have to put in automation for welding. So I see a lot of my clients and my friends who are investing in robot welding projects. And because, of course, now we're seeing a lot of collaborative robots, and these are the robots that work a little bit slower, work on human scale, and you and I could work right beside these robots. And so we're seeing a lot of them doing welding as well.
Okay. And any major changes that you've seen in 2023 in terms of robotic adoption or even in demand in the manufacturing space? Have you seen any shifts recently?
You know what? I think one of the things that's on everybody's mind is time to market. So not only do manufacturers need automation, but they need to get there a little bit quicker. So we just even had conversations yesterday at the ADM show about how do companies reduce risks and how do robot integrators reduce risks, because it works both ways. So they typically have to start faster, like start earlier in the cycle and start proving out the complex things so that they can absolutely reduce those risks. And whether they're using industrial robots or whether they're using collaborative robots, it's still very, very important to start early in those projects.
Absolutely. Given the current market situation, you had just mentioned at the beginning of this interview how it could be like worth a while to take a look at where Canada stands in terms of adoption, and that is basically what I'm very curious to know. What do you think is Canadian situation in terms of robotics adoption?
So I'd like to talk a little bit about Canada. Like we have, we are really good at building not only freestanding robots. There's a huge community of robot manufacturers in Canada, but also in robot integrators. Like we have great companies like ATS Automation, Systematics, Eclipse, JMP, Ethos Automation, Armo, and in Quebec we've got a huge consortium as well, like Premier Tech and Windsor. You've got companies like Centerline and Rico and AVNR. Actually, AVNR is in Montreal, but those companies are excellent. One of the things that I'm seeing is that they're also very, very busy, but they're busy exporting. So one of the funny things, I think we Canada, of course, is an export nation, but we are exporting a lot of our robotics and automation to the US, to Germany, to China, to France, to all kinds of other countries. And I don't think we're counting that, right? So it's a bit of an irony that we're really good at robot integration, we're good at vision systems and material handling, but because we're exporting them, I think we're not using them as much in Canadian manufacturing facilities.
And do you have any suggestions for manufacturers, to fill this gap? What, from your perspective, what you would suggest to manufacturers, even considering automation, and how they can reach out to all these players in Canada? It's basically right in their backyard, and they have the opportunity to leverage these technologies.
Yes, there are lots of organizations that they can reach out to, of course, that are doing them. But I think being even simpler, like go and visit some of your, not competitors so much, but certainly having the conversations early. One of the challenges we have is we have a small population base, right? And we're spread out over a very large country. But I think that having conversations early, reducing risks, understanding what automation can do for you, and talking with staff. And a lot of times what happens when you're in a factory is you walk around the factory and you look at places that are really good for automation. So maybe a worker is doing a really difficult job all day long, and oh my gosh, that's such an easy thing for us to put a collaborative robot in, or to put a light industrial robot, and look at what the costs are and look at the benefits are, talk to HR. So there's lots and lots of opportunities everywhere. And I think starting those conversations early. But one of the challenges I'm thinking we have in Canada is we've kind of treated manufacturing as a little bit of a dirty job, and it really isn't a dirty job. I've spent my entire life in advanced manufacturing, and it's and the factories are great. Everything's going digital, and it's a great place to work for sure.
One of the big things I think, from what I understand, is rightfully companies might be apprehensive to take that step because it's obviously not an easy investment. It's expensive. But what do you think, if they are apprehensive to take that first step, or even consider it, even do you think the best idea would be, like, to talk to the experts and find out if this technology is a good fit or not? And it might not be, and they need not do it. It's still fine. But what is your take on this?
So I think what I would do is I would probably start with like creating an automation map. Where could we go? If we were to automate this facility, what would that look like? Get a project manager, go see some of your similar customers in your town or in your industry, understand what they've done and understand the ROI, because you're right. Robots have to make good economic sense, but robots are so much more powerful than they were, 10 years ago. They
Right.
do so much more. The controllers are friendlier. There's lots and lots happening there, but understanding what your similar companies to yourself have been doing is really, really, I think, valuable. And there are a bunch of organizations you can reach out to, but also you can reach out to the robot manufacturers. We call them the OEMs, or also even independent automation consultants. They can come kind of help and say, oh my gosh, here's a company that's doing exactly what you need it to do, and they're doing it at such and such a cycle time, and their spend was so many dollars. So I think educating yourself, understanding what you can do to create like an automation map for your own business and what that looks like, and how quickly you can get there is really, really important. And one of the things I've always thought, because I come from automation, I was an applications engineer, I was a salesperson for complex systems, and also ended up in marketing, and that's why I have my own marketing consultancy. But we're really good at this stuff in Canada. We export too much of it. We should be absolutely using more automation in in Canada and becoming more competitive on a global stage. When we look at robot densities in Canada, and there's lots of companies studying this, we're kind of like number 17 or number 18. We're in there with some companies like Austria and the Czech Republic and Belgium for the number of robots that we have per 10,000 people. And I think the number is like 190-ish robots per 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And I believe that's because we're exporting a lot of these robots. They come into Canada and they go in the United States, or they come into Canada and they go to Germany. So I think that some of these numbers need a little bit of investigating. Certainly the big guys, the Magnas of the world, they're really good at automating. And I think that smaller, like SMEs, just need to really look at what an automation map might look for them.
Okay. And we are, very close to the end of the year. This is the time when companies have probably started planning their roadmaps for 2024. And it's a good time to take a look at what trends could influence this space next year and even beyond. So any thoughts on that?
Everybody's talking about AI and AI in manufacturing, and sometimes AI is also, we use the initials ML, so machine learning. These are things that are really, really important about collecting data, because data, as you manufacture, it's going to make you 2 or 3% better. And you start compiling that on 2 or 3 years later, and maybe you're 10% better. But I do think that manufacturers, when they can collect data and they can collect quality data, they'll be a better manufacturer, and that'll be in that competitive realm, right? There'll be that tick boxes. Are you using ML or AI? Are you using robots? Do you have quality data to back up these manufacturers' parts you're making for me? So automation will help you get ahead of a lot of that data stuff that's going on that will be very important to manufacturers going forward.
That is fantastic, Jim. And thank you so much for doing this interview and sharing your thoughts on this industry. Hopefully, the Canadian manufacturing industry is going to go on a faster rate of, I wouldn't say, I shouldn't say adoption. It's as much as it should make sense to them. They can go at their own pace, but move towards a faster rate of growth and improving their efficiencies according to what works best for them. So, yeah, hopefully our conversation gives them some ideas.
And you know what, I'm looking forward to that. I think we can do better. We need a plan. We need an automation map, and we need a national conversation about how we can get to a better place when it comes to using robots and automation and all these collaborative technologies that are super flexible, and that we can literally move from one area of the plant to another area of the plant. And it's really, really getting easier and easier for SMEs to take advantage of automation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks, Kanya.